soul food. Home of the sweet potato pie. Even the keenest taste buds will tell you the best food on the planet. Large enough to serve you and small enough to know you. So get to Henry's at 5431 Indian Head Highway, Oxon Hill, Maryland, or give us a call at 301-749-6856. Soul food. Henry's soul food. What we need? Soul food. Henry's soul food.
Welcome to the Armstrong Williams Show, brought to you by Golden Crust Bakery, the fastest growing Caribbean-owned franchise in the United States. Golden Crust is committed to the delivery of quality food and excellent customer service. Visit them today at goldencrustbakery.com.
Ranger Station.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
In the woods, just outside of town.
Oh, not surprising. You've got your home. Bears have theirs.
Yeah, but see, this wasn't just any bear. This bear was wearing jeans and a hat.
Sounds like somebody's bleeding over into our show.
Jeans and a hat. That's
Get rid of Smokey Bear needs to go.
What exactly did he have to say?
Well, we were about to head home, after
This
having
is
a
strange.
bonfire.
Oh, I can guess.
Isn't
where
it,
this is
Alex?
going.
Right. See, Smokey told me
Is
the
this
fire
not strange?
wasn't actually out. He said if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
That's true. Did you know that 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by...
Thank you. Thank you. This is kind of strange. Taking my time away. Oh, my goodness. And I've got two of the most wonderful women that creation has ever made. Ooh, sounds good, doesn't it, ladies? Hello, Jan Morgan. I got to hear my guest. Can I hear my guest?
I can hear you, Armstrong, but it's Maxie Maxie.
Hello, and I hear you on your cell phone.
Yes, and I won't be for long. I'll get off it soon. I just have to get where I'm going.
Oh, as long as you're with us, Maxie Maxie. It's so good having you back. You've neglected, abandoned, and all those things to us over the last few weeks, but that's okay. We're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Oh, we're gonna have some fun today. Jan Morgan, how are you? Where's Jan? Come on now, give me Jan. I know she's on the line. She's been holding before the show started. Jan, what's going on? Where's my boy Calvin Graham? What's going on here, Calvin Graham? Where's Jan? Jan,
I am right here.
There is Jan. You know I'm devastated when I can't talk to you.
Oh yeah, I believe that. Hey, I'm going to be in Washington D.C. in a few weeks, and I want to actually sit in that chair over there that's supposed to have my name on it.
You have to go. You must come by and do the show, and if your schedule does not permit, then you have to come by and we have to do a video blog together.
Yeah, no, I'm doing the show. I'm definitely going to do the show. I'll get you to the details.
Ladies, we've got the show today. It wasn't even a plan. It just walked in here on us today. And we captured it for an hour. So guess what we're going to talk about today? Woo! Lord have mercy.
I would like to know. I hope I'm informed and can talk about it.
Oh, this is the one show topic that everybody, especially you and Max, are just terror experts on. You just know too much about it. You know too much about it. Oh, you want me to tell you what it is? Our guest today is an author. And guess what the title of his book is, girls? What? How to Gracefully Exit Relationships.
Oh, wow. Are you serious?
Yes!
You brought me on today to talk about gracefully exiting relationships?
Did I tell you I did not know? He just walked in on us and we captured him and said, you can't leave. Because he was on our XM show last night, Series 110, and he was so good. I said, wait a minute. And then he came by today to shoot a video blog with me about the time of the show. I said, you know what? Since you're here, let's just extend this a little. But anyhow, let me introduce Frank Love. Frank, welcome to the show.
Afternoon.
Oh, how to gracefully exit a relationship. Now, I want you to get into your book a little because I want the ladies to get a feel. Because listen, this guy, I've heard a lot of relationship experts, okay? This guy uses common sense, and there was nothing he said in our recent broadcast that I disagree with. And the phone's off the hook. But anyhow, talk to us about how every relationship is different and how it is important to keep families and friends and relatives out of your business.
I was asked at one point what I thought about husbands, wives, and what it means to be married. And my easy answer, the go-to answer, is simply it means whatever those two people in the relationship says it means. All I hear when I hear two people are married is that they call each other the usual titles, so husband and wife, or in today's environment, wife and wife, or husband and husband, or so one of those titles. Past that, I don't really know what it means to those two individuals. I don't know what the rules they've set up for their relationship, and I don't really want to know. I want to support them as much as they want to be supported in the capacities that they jointly want me to support them, and that's really about it.
But what is it that make relationships last? What is that ingredient?
Chemistry. That is if there's one thing I would put my finger on, it's chemistry. When you grow together. I consider a fun and good relationship one where the two people in them are doing the things that they enjoy doing, independent of the other, and they both appreciate the other while they're doing that. That's a lasting relationship as far as I'm concerned, a good lasting relationship. But the thing is, you can be in quote unquote a lasting relationship and despise each other. So just to discuss it lasting is not a full comprehensive picture, I think, in what's good. It's good when you guys are enjoying the relationship, when you can say, every morning I want to be here.
So why do you think it's important that you write a book on how to gracefully exit a relationship?
I'll give you a little history. A few years ago, after writing about relationships for a few years, I came upon an article. I was reading Inc. magazine, some business magazine, Inc., Entrepreneur, something like that. And there was an article in there by an oncologist, a cancer doctor, who was writing about how to break bad news to people. And as you can imagine, they do it all the time. And I said to myself, wow, this is something I can certainly write about in terms of relationships. So many of us, when the relationship transforms or when it ends as we knew it, we are bitter and angry at each other, and it's just not necessary. So many of us don't even believe that we can be friends with exes. We don't even believe it. And so this book helps to, number one, establish that it's possible, and then it demonstrates the ways in which it is possible.
Maxie?
Yup, it sounds like I really need to talk to this guy and be on this show today.
Tell us why, Maxie.
Well, I've been divorced for 3 years, and I just recently became friends with my ex-husband again, but this summer, over the last month or two. And, I did not exit my relationship gracefully at all. I left. So I'd like to read the book and see where it might take me.
I'd like for you to read the book.
What do you say to Maxie, just based on what she just said?
Spread the word. I'm sure as you exited your relationship, you had friends that you talked to. He had friends that he talked to, and you might have had mutual friends that you talked to. And often the norm is to take sides and to think that he did something wrong. I mean, most likely your friends was trying to figure out what he did wrong, and his friends were trying to figure out what you did wrong. And today, 3 years later, you have the opportunity to look back on whatever the situation was and say, at this point, the relationship just stopped working, and that's all right. Looking back 3 years, we didn't need to be angry at each other. I certainly didn't. You didn't say he was angry at you, but you certainly may, if you do believe it and feel it, believe that you didn't need to be angry at him, and that the relationship, it's okay to just let a relationship go And it doesn't have to be for any particular reason. I mean, funny enough, we typically want to attribute some gross negligence or some problem, but you can leave a relationship for any reason you want, and that's not a bad thing.
Good advice.
Jan? You're a newlywed.
Armstrong, I'm still sitting here trying to figure out why the heck you brought me on this show today. Because I'm a firearms enthusiast, and I'm sitting here thinking, I guess he wants me to define that leaving a relationship gracefully should not include firearms and gunfights.
Well, but you're a newlywed. You're married. You're excited.
No, and I was married for 23 years, almost 24 years. So I took a 3-year break after my divorce before remarrying. And I'm so glad to hear that chemistry is your author's solution for a healthy relationship, because I definitely have that with this gentleman who I've married, and he's my soulmate. But you know what? One of the things that, and I don't know if he addressed it in this book, but if he did, I would like for him to talk about this. Often I see people who split up, if they have a child or have children, the child gets pulled in the middle of it, and if any time more than ever, it seems to me that it's important to gracefully, leave a relationship when you've got children involved, instead of using them as pawns and then being pulled in between parents. I see that happening all the time. Did you address that in the book, and is that part of leaving a relationship gracefully, and how to do that when there are kids involved?
Yes and yes. One of the chapters in the book is about how to tell the children.
We're going to come back and answer that question. Ooh, I like this, because it wasn't planned. It was not planned. 1-866-620-6620. Frank Love, how to gracefully exit a relationship. We'll be back.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean. Only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams. What does it mean to be conservative? Freedom of speech, freedom of free enterprise, freedom of assembly, less government, less taxes. As a matter of fact, a flat tax. Everyone should pay proportional tax. It doesn't matter whether you make $100 million or $10,000. Everyone should pay their 10%. Everyone should have something at stake in this American economy. I'm Armstrong Williams, expressing what we mean by conservative traditional value.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Hi, this is Armstrong Williams with an opportunity to own a piece of paradise in Nassau, Bahamas. Spectacular land prices, 8,000 square feet, 20,000 square feet lot, affordable prices, hilltop properties with views of the magnificent sea. Just call 242-677-3120 or 3121 or go to info@rightsidewire.com and leave your information.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And our guest, James Love, and how to gracefully exit relationships. And our very special commentators, Maxie Maxie and Jan Morgan. You were about to talk about the kids.
The children, well, the issues with the children typically stem from somebody feeling victimized and feeling as though they need to get back at the other. That's really the root of the problems that come from the children. And one of the things that I discuss in the book is really what I call establish your nothing point along the whole course of your relationship so that no one feels victimized should it end. Determine what it would take when this relationship ends, or if this relationship ends, where you all both walked away saying, you don't owe me anything. We're okay. And that's a tough thing for a lot of people to swallow, because a lot of us do the things that we do in relationships because we want to indebt our partner. And sometimes we don't even talk to them about it. So establish your point where you are clear that your partner doesn't owe you anything. And if they do owe you something, make the debt explicit. No implicit debts. From there, once we get to that point, then you don't have any problems with the children, particularly if both are responsible parents. Now, if you're not both responsible parents, there's something else, that's another issue. But if you're both responsible parents and nobody feels the victim, then you can work it out. I'm confident. If you can't work it out, then that's when you see the children as pawns going at each other, the parents going at each other incessantly, trying to get one up on the other, and it becomes an ultimate problem. The chapter where I talk about how to tell the children, it really has to do with coming together as a unit and talking to your children about what you are willing to discuss as a unit, not sneaking them off to the side and getting them on your side and not your partner doing the same. It really has to do with what you do together.
Jan?
Yeah, I agree with what he says. I think that it's really important in relationships, when a relationship ends, if there are children involved, that the two adults come together and say, you know what, no matter what we feel about each other or how angry we get, let's decide that we are going to keep the kids out of this. It has nothing to do with them. You shouldn't discuss the other spouse in a negative way to the children so that they feel like they have to go along with that. I think that you really have to, if you love your kids, that you have to do that. It's unfortunate, though, that just doesn't happen very much, and I see it so much. But, yeah, kids, and it really creates problems for kids, and you can almost spot them. I was a school teacher for years, and you can tell when a kid's family is going through divorce, if the parents are being irresponsible and inconsiderate of the children, their grades start dropping in school, they start pulling away from socialization, and it does affect kids, and sometimes they are the biggest casualty in a relationship ending, more so than the two adults involved. And I think that that's so sad.
One of the things to keep in mind when we're looking at them as casualties when a relationship ends is what would have been the casualty if the relationship would have stayed together. It's not,
right.
One isn't necessarily better than the other.
Right. But it's how you handle the situation. If you leave the kids out of it and don't try to draw them into whatever dispute or whatever problems you're having with your other spouse, if you can just leave that spouse out of it and just, leave the child out of those arguments and leave them out of discussions regarding the other adult and the relationship. I think it's better to just, try to keep things positive and not draw them into the discussion about, how terrible this other parent is or isn't, or what this parent's done today wrong, or I can't believe you want to go over and stay with that other parent because thus and so. And, kids really shouldn't be put in that situation.
One of the things that I am clear about is sometimes parents just are unable, some parents are just unable to do that. Some parents really just cannot get their minds around not bad-mouthing the other. It's almost impossible. Right. And when you see that, it is a very good indicator that it was a good thing for that relationship to end. Most of us look at relationships and them ending and say, "Oh man, that's too bad." Not necessarily.
Because to me, it's a sign of emotional, or maybe I'm not a psychiatrist or anything, but in my opinion, it's a sign of emotional immaturity when you can't be an adult in a situation like that and you bring the child in.
Mm-hmm.
And self-centeredness. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's very self-centered to be thinking only of yourself as an adult and how angry you are at that other person, and not be thinking about the child who's sitting there and listening to you talk about their mother or their father.
Yes.
Because regardless of what happened in the adult relationship, that other spouse is still that child's other parent. Mm-hmm. So,
Maxie, your question to Dr. Love?
Well, I have a comment. Listening to both of them speaking so respectfully, I just think, though, that it doesn't always happen that way, as the author said. But what happens is, sometimes in my case, I had to defend myself. I had to say, hey, wait a minute, mister. I've paid for you. I've given you money. I've invested in your funds. I've invested in your things. And now we're all sitting here, and I'm not just going to take this lying down. I'm going to present to my kids that, unfortunately, we got a divorce, but it isn't because I ran off and did something. It's because the dad didn't want to work, didn't know how to work, couldn't work, whatever. And the point is, we're not talking about somebody that, just showed up from wherever. We're talking about a boarding school educated person that went to Yale, brilliant guy, highest IQ on record, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes things aren't what they're supposed to be. They don't turn out like the fairy tale castle. And you have to be real. You have to sit down with your kids and be respectful, but you also have to get angry when it's appropriate, get sad when it's appropriate, and not hide them from the reality of the situation.
The beauty.
Can I comment on that? I have. Let me just say what I did in my own personal case with my own daughter. When my divorce happened and my husband was upset with me, hurt or whatever, my daughter, what I told her, and I said, here's what you do, sweetheart. If Daddy starts to ask you, your mama did this or your mama said that or whatever, I said, here's what you say, baby, because you don't need to be, Mommy and Daddy don't need to draw you into these things. You just say, you know what, Daddy, I love my mommy and I love you. And what's between you and Mom is between you and Mom, and I don't want to get in the middle of that because that just upsets me. So don't ask me about that, and I don't want to talk about that. And I don't talk to Mommy about you, and I don't let her fuss about you. So you'll just leave me out of this. I just want to love both of you and live my life and be happy. So that was my way of helping her not be having to listen to that as a child. Just said, you just tell. And I said, if I ever start to say anything about Daddy, you look at me and say the same thing. You say, Mommy, you know what? I love Dad. I don't want to hear that.
But what you indicated in this discussion is that you were ready to move on, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's what I did. And our daughter came with me in my divorce. I had been married 23 years. But my daughter, I had custody of her, and she came to live with me. But eventually she would go and visit him, on her weekends or whatever. And so, without getting into a deal, and I don't want to talk about him because he's a good man, but
it's great to hear you say.
It's just a typical thing for adults to do. And I realized early on, because our daughter was a very successful child. She was a 4.0 student. She was a title holder, a beauty queen, a cheerleader, and the last thing I wanted was to see her life start to collapse because my relationship with her dad did. And so what I just did was say, you know what, and I asked him, I talked to him about it. I said, let's just make an agreement that no matter what, we're not going to talk bad about each other to our daughter. Let's just don't do that because we don't have to do that. If you want to talk bad about me, your friends or whatever, then, you're a big boy and they're adults and whatever. But please let's don't do that to her.
Did he agree to it?
So, well, yes, of course, but that's not the way it always turned out. But at any rate.
In words, he agreed to it.
At any rate, I do think it helped her. She got through fine. She got through just fine. But I've seen so many kids who didn't, kids who were doing well in school, and all of a sudden there's a complete personality change. There's a drop in grades. The kid withdraws, and I'm talking to the student. I'm saying, "Are you okay? What's going on? Is there something going on in your life? Because you're
you're not concentrating. I feel like I'm losing you here in this class. And invariably, it always came back to, well, there's problems at home. Mom left or dad left or my parents are at each other's throats, and I just, and I'm in the middle of it. I just saw that so much as a school teacher. And I think because I saw it so much, I was even more sensitive to it as a parent when I went through a divorce, and I just wanted to make sure that my child didn't have to go through that.
One of the things what you're saying brings to mind is important conversations to have with each other, meaning a husband, wife, or spouses. And one of those conversations is, babe, do you agree that it's possible for us to break up? Just do you agree with that? And that touches on such a sensitive issue amongst many folks who are married, because many of us don't even want to talk about the possibility of breaking up. I mean, I get people who pick up the book and say, "No, I'm not touching that. I'm not interested in breaking up in my relationship." And my first response is, look, if you're married, there's a possibility you could split. And these are the conversations that I suggest having, so that one, if you were to split, the split can be amicable, or two, if you were to, or so that where your relationship is actually strengthened, so that if you don't split, you have had powerful conversations where you're connected and you've touched on some sensitive issues and you've gotten through them. So, I
wonder if you touched in your book. I'm really interested in reading your book now, but I wonder if you touched on the subject of the Christian approach and view to this, because I have a lot of Christian friends who are married and they're absolutely miserable. But they say, the Bible says I don't have biblical grounds for my divorce. If one of us did not commit adultery or one of us did not physically desert the other, then we have no grounds for divorce.
Hold that point, Jen. Hold that point. We're coming back with Maxie Maxie, Jan Morgan, and our guest, Dr. Frank Love, how to gracefully exit relationships. We'll be back.
Armstrong, Williams.
Hi, Mike Reagan here. The president has just delayed his Obamacare employee mandate for 1 year. But nothing has changed. The Congressional Budget Office still predicts 7 million Americans will lose their current insurance, and thousands of rules are being implemented today. Obamacare is over 20,000 pages, almost 3 times longer than the whole IRS tax code. Worse, the IRS is now in charge of enforcing the law. You need to protect yourself, your family, and your business with the easy-to-read guide. It's called the Obamacare Survival Guide. Already a #1 New York Times bestseller, Newsmax calls it the best guide to the new law. Get the Obamacare Survival Guide today at bookstores everywhere, or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Life is full of unexpected changes. Everyone has potential to do wrong. And when they choose to do it, contact the Bucksell Group for your private investigation needs. TheBucksellGroup.com or by phone at 202-243-9746. Whether there's an instance of a cheating spouse, child custody, process service, or security, don't continue suspecting. Get closure so that you can move on with your life. Visit TheBucksellGroup.com now or call 202-243-9746. If you think it's happening, it probably is.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sports shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Most Americans simply have never been taught the basics of money management, let alone how to secure their financial future. But there is hope. Financial Education and Literacy Advisors, also known as FELA, does what others don't. FELA teaches financial education. If you'd like more information about providing a financial wellness program for your employees, or a credit-bearing college course in personal finance, or other valuable programs, please visit myfela.com. That's myfela.com, or send an email to info@myfela.com.
Elder chicks is an exciting part of the fastest growing segment of the population. Women in their 70s, 80s, and older who are mastering the art of a senior life. We're no longer unseen and unheard. We're providing role models for each other and the baby boomers who are fast approaching retirement. Join our virtual community. Hit www.elderchicks.com on your computer keyboard.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
And Frank Love, you were about to answer Jen. Go ahead.
Your question had to do with the Christian religion, and I'm going to spin it a little bit to basically be about faith. And many times when we're committed to the religion that we are in, it's important to understand that we are getting something out of that commitment. Many of us want to kind of sit back, and I'm not disparaging it at all. If this is how you choose to conduct yourself, I am all for it. Many of us want to kind of get on autopilot and go conduct our relationship based on what's in the quote unquote good book, and so we read it and we want to implement it and we want to forget about it. Well, we want to forget about the difficulties along the way and not really have to navigate it. Hey, if he didn't do this, then we stay in a relationship. Or hey, if she didn't do this, we stay in a relationship. And when that occurs, the value that couple is getting is one of faith, where that's rooted in their faith, where they can actually say, I'm doing what this book says I should do. And that's valuable to many. And, if that works for you, I say go for it. Many of us, that doesn't work for. We are, we're navigating and we're reevaluating it every day. And on any given day, we might say the relationship isn't working for us. I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong.
Now, for this conversation, you were married once,
yes,
and you're divorced.
Yep.
What did you learn from that?
The first marriage?
Yes.
Wow. When I entered the marriage, I entered it with the perspective that I was, no matter what the problem was, no matter what was going on, no matter what she did, I was going to stick it out. I was going to make it work. I mean, I was almost Superman walking around with my chest out thinking that, I could do it no matter what. Well, I stopped that. As the relationship came to an end, I was no longer willing to thump my chest and say I was Superman. And I'm still no longer willing to thump my chest and say I'm Superman. I'm not Superman and have no interest in being Superman. If it doesn't work for me, I'm okay with the relationship ending. And I'm okay with the society looking at me out of the corner of their eye about a broken, some people say broken family, broken relationship, whatever you want to call it. That's now okay with me. Wasn't
Maxie?
Okay with me then.
Yeah, I agree with Frank. I think what he says rings true in my reality. But the only thing I would add, I think both the guests, Jan and Frank, are really brilliant in their comments. I just think that your listeners need to know, though, that the world is not always kind and perfect, and that we have to just do the best we can. And by taking, say, Frank's book, reading it, maybe many people will get insight on how they can behave in a way that's more conducive to their children, their spouse, their ex-spouse, their new spouse, et cetera,
When you discussed, you had said something that had me even mention that about two parents saying to each other, we can break up. And you kind of said something just a second ago that brought that back where I was going with it, and that was about the children. It's also important, and I'm sure there are millions of people that are going to disagree with me about this, but it's important to let the children know that mommy and daddy may not always be together, and that's okay. It's a part of life, because it lets them off the hook in a couple manners. Number one, it lets them off the hook in terms of how bad they may feel if mommy and daddy were to ever split. Because if you don't have that conversation, they may very well grow up thinking that split will never happen, that they live in a fairy tale land. I don't know if that's definitively what they'll think, but it's possible. And number two, they get to be off the hook in their own relationships when they get older, and they understand, wow, mom and dad might have split even though they didn't, or maybe they did, but they had the conversation with me where I'm willing and I understand that that's a possibility, and it doesn't have to be the end of my world.
Jan?
Oh, well, I agree. I think I was really interested in his answer on the faith issue, and I'm glad that he covered that, because it is. I have a lot of friends who are Christians who are absolutely miserable in their marriage. I mean, they're miserable, but their statement is, well, but, my faith says unless he commits adultery or she commits adultery or he leaves and deserts me, I have to stay in this. I don't have biblical grounds. And if I divorce him and don't have biblical grounds, then I'm a sinner. So it's just like, I say, okay, so you're supposed to live the rest of your life absolutely miserable, despising each other and, not speaking and living in the same household and making your kids miserable. And so, I'm glad that you cover the faith issue. And it's amazing to me how many people do stay married simply for that reason, and they're miserable their entire lives.
Do you think that, Frank, in a marriage, because you say it's whatever you construct and whatever you want a marriage to be, that adultery is allowed and it's okay as long as both spouses can live with that? Because what I get you saying is that the Christians can live by their ethos and that works for them, but that's not what works for anybody. In my hearing you say that in some marriages they may be swinging. There may be things that are just different, but it's necessary to them, in their minds, to make the marriage work. Are you saying that sometimes you have to be creative outside the bounds of the things that you were taught in your faith and your moral striving?
I am suggesting that you be creative. That is how I can conduct myself. Now, I'm not the Bible reader or the person that reads the Bible and tells folks that this is what it says, this is how I'm going to be. That's not me. But I'm not saying that that's a problem. Where that person gets their value is in being able to say that. I don't get my value there.
I understand that point, but I'm talking about something a little different that I never thought about. That sometimes you have to create in your marriage what will make it survive, even though sometimes it could be frowned upon by others.
Absolutely. There is absolutely no question about it. The relationship is one that the two of you create together. And as long as it works for you, two, it's working.
And you create your own standards and your own morality, what that is to you.
Absolutely.
Maxie, what do you? That's intriguing, Maxie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Frank's book sounds amazing. I want to read it, and I wish he would write another one, addressing other scenarios. But the thing is I was raised in the fairy tale. I raised my kids in the fairy tale, and then it all came crashing down. Mm-hmm. I never had the experience of open communication with the kids, with the husband, with my mom, with my dad. And, fast forward, it came to a screeching halt. And, unlike Jan's experience, maybe I had the opposite one where my husband wouldn't even take a phone call from me for practically, I don't even know how long. He wouldn't even answer. And if he did, he would scream and hang up. So there wasn't even an opportunity to say, hey, can we try to be it didn't even occur. Wouldn't even. It was so inhumane in that way. Although he's a wonderful guy today, and this summer he apologized to me and said all this stuff, which was great. But the point was, fast forward, we're both adults. We've accepted our situation, and we're moving forward and trying to do what Jan said. We're respectful of our kids, and we're moving forward.
Let's go to Ezekiel. Ezekiel, you're on the line. Callers, I apologize for not getting to you sooner. Go ahead. Ezekiel. Okay, I guess he'll get there. What do you think make marriages last? For those that last, what is that they all have in common, Frank?
Chemistry.
We got the chemistry. What else? Mm-hmm. What about the trust and love?
Well, I got an interesting way of looking at the trust component, and I believe generally trust is the term is misused. If you look up the term trust in the dictionary, you'll see that the definition of trust is faith. And in relationships, faith, and you really want an example of faith, is that I have a 3-month-old daughter, and let's say I went to the corner and handed her to a man I've never met before and told him, ask him to bring her back in an hour. Well, that's faith. I mean, that's some faith right there. Now, I'm not saying it's smart. I'm not even saying I would do it, but I'm saying it's faith. In relationships, we typically look at faith as the same as I believe you will do something. So if we say we're only going to we're going to live in Washington D.C. for the course of our marriage, and one of us decides we all of a sudden want to live in New York, well, that's not, you didn't, I trusted you to keep your word isn't quite right. It's more so I believed you were going to keep your word. The concept of trust requires that you have absolutely no evidence that the person is going to do it. And if you're looking at your partner, someone that you know, unless this partner has never done anything like that before, unless he has never woken up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you're trusting that he's going to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of noon, well, then that's not really trust.
Hold that point. We're coming back. Don't go away. We've got callers. It's not even about love. It's about surviving relationships. That's what this is about. These are survivor tactics. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Say bye-bye burgers, pass on the pizza, forget the francs. Anytime is party time. Discover Golden Cross's authentic Jamaican-style patties. Beef, chicken, vegetables, soya, spinach, and shrimp. Feast on our great taste sensations. Jerk chicken, oxtail, sliced fish, and much more. Savor the taste of the Caribbean, only at a Golden Cross near you. A family tradition since 1949. GoldenCrossBakery.com.
For more information on the Armstrong Williams Show, please visit our new website at www.rightsidewire.com. There you can find his syndicated column archive, view live streams, and get your favorite conservative pundits' views on the current issues affecting the American people. From building wealth to foreign policy, stay connected with Armstrong Williams and his colleagues at the all-new www.rightsidewire.com.
Does your school, team, church, or charity need a new fundraiser? Do you need to work out of your home or part-time? Are you a small business that can use an additional revenue stream? Then you need Yellow Llama. Do you need affordable web services or tools to enhance your existing business? Are you a graphic artist who wants to create a revenue stream with your art but not get ripped off? Then go to www.yellowllama.com.
Anderson Brothers Bank, a family-owned and operated establishment that blends traditional personal service, local market awareness, and advanced technology to meet the financial needs of its customers. Visit abbank.com or call 843-464-6271 to see how they can assist you with your banking needs. Anderson Brothers Bank, celebrating 75 years of community banking, the way it should be. Stability right in your backyard since 1933.
America must change course if we hope to survive and save the American dream for our children and grandchildren. How do we fix Social Security and Medicare? How do we cut government spending? How do we reform health care? How do we simplify the tax code? The Heritage Foundation has a bold plan that tackles these tough problems using common sense solutions that leave partisan politics on the sidelines. Find out how we can save the American dream at savingthedream.org, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Join the millions of Americans who pursue one of our country's finest traditions, from hunting to sport shooting. Since 1871, the NRA has grown as a service organization involved in all aspects of shooting sports and is a proud defender of the Bill of Rights. Join today to begin taking advantage of exclusive membership offers and discounts, including up to $25,000 in insurance coverage. Contact the NRA today. Call 1-800-672-3888 or visit nra.org.
Where heads of state, sports, entertainment, and political celebrities meet. You're listening to Armstrong Williams.
Ezekiel, you're on the air.
Did you cut me off? I thought you cut me off.
How can I cut you off? I'm in Washington, D.C. I don't control the boards in South Carolina.
All right, okay. Listen, like I was saying, I just got in my car and I was listening to you guys, and I heard the young lady was saying that she has friends that are Christian and they're miserable in their marriage. And my take on that is that, you see, the problem is in marriage is that when two people come together in unity and they make this commitment, you see, the most important thing is that you making the commitment to God instead of to each other. And if you look at it in that perspective, you before I do anything to my wife or the wife do anything to the husband, or you decide to split this thing up, you're telling God that I'm getting out of this thing without biblical reason. So my solution to that, if you're having problems in a marriage and you're not getting along, you two guys as Christians need to take it to God and pray on it and ask God to change whatever needs to be changed or fix whatever needs to be fixed. And people do not look at it from that perspective. That's why her friends are saying to her that they can't get out because they don't have biblical reason. And they're right. So you better off, to be honest with you, you're better off being miserable in the marriage than to get out the marriage without biblical reason, because you're turning your back. You don't have the blessing of God to get out of this thing. I know about this because I've seen it. I mean, it's just that simple.
All right, Ezekiel. Did you
agree or do you disagree with what I'm saying?
James Love, what do you say to Ezekiel?
If the two of you all believe the same thing as it pertains to faith and as it pertains to what is required or necessary to get out of a marriage, then you're right. But if the two of you all don't, if one of you all believes that it's not necessary, that's all it takes. It takes two people to enter a relationship and only one to end it.
Yes, sir, but here's what I'm saying to you as well. See, all that should be covered in the beginning before you do this thing. You should sit down with a minister or somebody with the Bible and explain and get all this on the table before you get married, before you make this commitment.
And what happens when that changes, even though you've done that?
What do you mean what happened when it changes? Well, you're in error if you changed it, because you can't change it. In other words, you only change. What you need to do is start off just like you start off in the beginning with the commitment to God. And if you run across problem, well, so be it. I need to take it to God, and He has to fix it. If He don't fix it for me, and then I have to live with it unless I have the biblical reason to get out.
Some
it's
people,
just that simple, sir.
There are two things that you're saying that are interesting. Number one, some people don't believe that, and that they want to continue to live that way. Some people see themselves as, hey, I got one life to live, and I'm going to live it as best as I see fit. I certainly respect those people that believe that. The other that is fascinating is that you're basically telling folks, if you want out of this marriage, and let me tell a story real quick. I years ago I wrote a blog called "Thank God for Affairs." It got quite a response, as you can imagine. And the little history on it is, I was watching Dr. Phil one day, and there was a woman who was on the show, and she had a daughter who had been married to a young man who had old money. So the daughter wanted a divorce, and the mother was upset that this daughter was divorcing this guy who was old money. And Dr. Phil asked the mother, are you married? And she said no. And he said, well, was your marriage happy? And she said no. And he said, well, why were you married? And she said, well, I stayed in it for the children. And he said, so why did the relationship end? And he said, because he had an affair. And the first thing I thought to myself, wow, thank God for affairs, because if he hadn't had an affair, she would have stayed in a relationship she wasn't happy in, or he would have stayed in a relationship he wasn't happy in. So if you look at the concept around affairs and adultery, it's basically it's an easy out if that is going to allow the relationship to end. So all I got to do is have sex with someone, and she'll want to divorce me. No problem.
But I think that is being such a coward.
Yes,
That's such a cowardly way to exit a relationship.
It depends. Yeah. Well,
How about just being a stand-up person and saying, you know what, I'm not attracted to you anymore. I'm not in love with you anymore. I don't like this. I don't like that. Or we've grown apart. My life is going this direction. Your life is going that. Why use an affair as an excuse? To me, that is being such a coward.
Well, because none of the things that you just said might be true. I mean, why say I'm not attracted to you anymore when you may very well still be attracted?
Oh, come on, Frank, now. Come on. You know when you're not attractive to anybody any longer.
I said they may not be true. You gave a list.
Ezekiel, we're going to move on, brother. Thank you for calling. Maxie, what do you want to say?
Only thing I want to say is it sounds to me like Frank is talking about control. And, control is what it's all about. I think when you enter a relationship, you should not control anyone but yourself.
I agree.
That's it, baby. That's the bottom line.
Oh, listen to that Maxie Maxie. That's it, baby.
The thing you said about being that about being a coward is something that there are people who do not feel comfortable addressing situations head on. They're when I talk about this in the book.
That's what I mean. Coward.
Yeah, well, it's not cowardly though. When it's actually this is a place where we get to be much more respectful of each other than most of us or many of us are. So there are people who would send a text message to their partner to tell them that they wanted out of the relationship. That's a type of person, and that person most likely has dealt with things in that manner for the course of their life, or dealt with relationships like that.
That is a cowardly
time.
way of doing things. By the way,
I disagree. But
a text message.
Well, I'm just that's an example. There are other people who would, and mind you, the old version of a text message is a Dear John letter. So it's
a letter is different. A letter is different from a text. I'm sorry, it is.
Today, it is different. If you
don't reduce the relationship to a text.
I'm saying,
come on, Frank.
It's a part of a bigger point, and the bigger point is there are other people who would want to be told face to face in a public place.
You owe them that much. You owe them.
I can't say we owe our partners much. Then, and the reason I am showing compassion to the individual who would send a text message is I understand that these individuals they're not. It's one thing to call them a coward, but it's another to understand that they have their own pain that they're working through at the time of a breakup also. We can reduce that pain and the way they want to deal with the scenario by calling them cowards, but I say why not be a little bit more respectful than calling them cowards and just understand that this is how they believe they should conduct themselves. There are there are people who want to meet in public so that they don't kirk out and that they don't start yelling at each other and throwing at each other. They figure they won't do that in public. There are people who want to be told in private. So if they were to do so, if they were to be upset, they wouldn't see other people see them cry. There are all types of ways that people are willing to break up and who want, and how the way we want to be broken up with. And it's worth having a conversation about what those are, so that we are on the same page, at least with revealing who we are, instead of just simply calling one another cowards.
Jan?
Well, I just don't think that, when you look back at the title of your book and you talk about gracefully ending a relationship, I don't think it's a graceful way to end a relationship to just having an affair or do something so disrespectful to your partner. To me, the most graceful way to end a relationship is just to be honest and upfront and say, this is not working for me anymore, and to face that person and give them at least that much respect, so that, they can't use that against you and can't say, well, this person had an affair on me, or what this person did to me. They started, sending these text messages and these photos or whatever it is. I think that the graceful thing involves respect, mutual respect of each other. And I know that that's kind of fairy tale, and there are a lot of people that don't usually do that, but listen to Maxie over there laughing. But still, the bottom line is that's my rendition of gracefully ending a relationship is mutual respect. At the very least, if there's no love, if there's no friendship, if there's nothing else left, at least give each other respect of saying, you know what, we just need to dissolve this and
move on.
Go my way, go your way, etc.
Maxie Maxie.
Yeah, I was just going to make a funny comment. I know the show of which Frank is speaking, and the young lady who in question that the mother didn't want her to leave the man. I actually attended that wedding, and that young woman is still married to that young man, and they live separate lives.
Wow.
No. I feel left out. I missed the show. Whatever.
Are
show
you
it was.
serious?
You know what, Frank? Frank, you'd be shocked. The husband, I saw them both this summer quite a bit, and the girl just keeps on going, and the guy keeps on going too. They got girlfriends, they got more boys, they got it all going on.
I wouldn't be shocked at much.
Maxie, you Maxie, you attended the wedding?
I did.
Oh, isn't it a small world?
It is a
Yes,
small world.
it is. I was shocked when Frank brought that up.
Armstrong, you know who they're talking about too? Am
No.
I the only person who doesn't
No,
know?
I don't
who
know.
they're
Armstrong,
talking about?
I'll give Armstrong one hint. She's from the same town in which my father had his papers from the 1800s.
Oh, she's a Southern girl.
Yep.
It's a small world.
Yeah.
Educated in the North.
And it's been years since that show came on, and she knew what I was talking about. Wow.
I know exactly.
She was at the wedding, man. She was at the wedding.
I'm
which
a
meant,
psychic.
which
I'm a
meant
psychic.
she was there on behalf of the bride or the groom. She knew one of them.
Exactly.
Okay. Wow. Listen, this has been a revelatory show. It really has been. I tell you, I think sometimes the best part of the conversation is during the breaks. Stuff you can never repeat. Listen, thank you, Maxie Maxie. Thank you, Jan. Go out and buy Frank Love's book, How to Gracefully Exit Relationships. Thank you so much. That wasn't even planned.